You know that feeling when something totally unexpected happens in a board game? Those jaw-dropping moments that make you shout, "What the f***?" Well, we've got 5 of those moments right here, and trust me, they are absolutely legendary.
It's those what the f*** moments that we live for, and we wanted to share some of our most memorable experiences with you guys, and maybe inspire you to be a bit more sociable and a bit more geeky with your like-minded friends.
Look, it goes without saying, but expect major spoilers for every board game that we're about to talk about. You have been warned.
Can a board game really make you lose your mind?
Mansion Madness is a board game full of twists and turns and immerses you in a world of old-timey America. It's full of superstition, dangerous knowledge, and cosmic horror.
Sounds like living with you, just minus all the old-timey. When did you get changed?
I didn't get changed, I was always wearing this. In Mansions of Madness, you solve a horrific mystery centered around a town or a house. It's filled with surprises and mysteries you just do not see coming. And oh boy, I did not see the surprise coming. Sad, not that kind of surprise.
Oh, it was your birthday last week.
Yeah, I know, but you don't have to do this on camera. Come on. It was the 3rd session of the game, and the chapter was called Shattered Bonds. And we'd been called by the Beckman family to try and help them. We approached along the winding driveway of the mansion, and something just felt wrong. The car suddenly clacked and banged, and then suddenly it came to a stop. So we got out of the car, and we walked towards the ominous-looking building. Grace Beckman opened the door. She was panicked. She asked, "Where is your car?" She said, "We must escape from here." She warned us of all the evil that lurks. But despite all of the warnings, we entered. The estate is massive, and soon enough, we find ourselves being chased by horrific creatures from another dimension. Everything was really Scooby-Doo to begin with, but after we progressed about an hour into the session, things started to get really weird.
Why does it always pan into your face every time you take a pause?
It's for dramatic effect. I was extinguishing a fire when I noticed something odd about Saab. Well, something more odd than usual, right?
Hey, who are you calling odd?
But before I tell you the rest of the story, I probably should explain one important rule in Mansions of Madness. It uses a really cool system called Insanity, and it has to be one of the most immersive rules I've ever seen in a board game. Each playable character has a sanity value. When faced off against something terrifying, like a large, hairy cosmic beast rushing into the room,
Why are you recording me?
players must pass a horror check. Roll the number of dice equal to the stat being tested, and see how many successes you get. If you pass, nothing happens. But if you fail, you draw a horror card. Now, the horror cards, they mostly suck. Sometimes they give you negative effects like picking up another horror card immediately or stunning you. The worst thing about them? If the number of horror cards you have exceeds the value of your sanity, then you face drawing an insane card and losing your mind. Now, Saad, being his usual self, dives willy-nilly into every room without a fear in his heart. Each time he faced a different and more terrifying beast of the cosmos, slowly chipping away from whatever sanity he already had. He drew horror after horror until he finally pushed past his limit. He had to draw an insane card and read the front out loud.
Look at the back of this card, but do not reveal it to the other investigators.
He turns the card and reads it. I saw something change in him, in his eyes. I knew he was no longer Saad. I could feel it. He was slowly going insane. Much like real life, I suspect that's what being a dad does to somebody, right? He was staring into the void with no expression on his blank and odd face. This was the first time we'd even seen it happen. Now, I'd read the rulebook before playing the game, and I knew that there were some cards that changed how the player wins the game. I remember seeing an example in the rulebook. Pyromania. You do not win the game as normal. At the start of your turn, if 6 or more rooms contain fire, you immediately win the game and the game ends. If the game ends for any other reason, you lose the game. As the game progressed, he just kept moving along, like nothing had happened. But I just knew something was up, something suspicious. Maybe even malicious. He had to be up to something, but I just couldn't figure it out. Was he no longer part of the team? Maybe he was waiting for the right moment to stab us in the back. He had to be stopped. I needed to confirm my suspicions. I saw Saad had a crowbar sitting in his inventory. A good teammate would share it, right? I turned to Saad and I asked him, "You've got a ton of weapons already, Saad. Give me the crowbar. I need it more than you." He looked at me blankly. He didn't even respond. I thought maybe he just didn't hear me. I asked him again, "Can I have that crowbar?" He didn't respond. I knew it. From that moment, he was pure evil. It had to be the insanity card. He was a monster, and he needed to destroy us to win the game. It all made sense. It's like I could read his mind. We needed to destroy him to survive. I texted my other two brothers, Adam and Azam, who were playing with us at the time, and I made them aware of his odd behaviour. We conducted a plan to see if we could work it out. So we had no way to actually take him out, but I had an idea. I instructed Saad to go into the next room where there was a group of cosmic beasts waiting for him. We said to him we'll meet him there the next turn. But of course we didn't. He was stuck in there fighting the creatures. No screams, no call for backup, nothing. He just carried on silently. Little did he know that his biggest challenge was still yet to come. The end of the turn approaches, and suddenly this grotesque beast teleports into the room right next to him. Saad's trapped. It was exactly what we needed. The battle goes on, and Saad's holding on for dear life, but he's got no chance. It's like 5 versus 1 at this point. He's got no ammo left, and his health is almost entirely depleted. And then the grotesque beast lands his final blow straight on Saad. Saad looks back at us, totally frustrated, betrayed, and somewhat silent, to be fair. Saad had died. He gets up from his chair, and then he just storms outside of the room. We were all laughing at him. We knew all along that he was just evil. Patted him on the back and I congratulate him and ask him, "Flip his insane card. I bet I know what it is." I was wrong.
You cannot speak. You win or lose the game as normal.
What the absolute Imagine being a clown juggling balls. You start with 3 balls, then suddenly somebody throws you 3 more balls to juggle. Tough, but you could probably manage, right? Suddenly you realise you have a flight to catch to your own wedding. You start running towards the airport, all while still juggling 6 balls, and find yourself caught in a terrible storm. To try and escape the storm, you enter a nearby alleyway that looks particularly inviting, but you find yourself stuck in a maze, being chased by bees and sinking in quicksand. Overwhelmed? Welcome to Pandemic, the board game. Alright, let's be clear here. None of those things actually happen in Pandemic, but the stress levels are constantly that high, and it never ever stops feeling that overwhelming. It just becomes more and more overwhelming the more you progress throughout the game. Pandemic Legacy Season 1 is the game that finally took the legendary board game right up to Tier 0. And for good reason. You and your group work together to try and save the world from total annihilation, brought on by an outbreak of a mysterious disease. Stop the spread of infection across the globe, or see the world burn in front of you. Does it sound familiar? It came out in 2015, which is a really pivotal point for board games. The landscape for innovation in board games really evolved in that year, and it came out with some amazing titles. Even today, in 2024, Pandemic leads the way in terms of cooperative board game design, inspiring games like Horrified, Spirit Island, and Flashpoint Fire Rescue. But the greatest advancement of them all was Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
You are a team from the Center of Disease Control in Atlanta. If you've played Pandemic before, then you'll know the drill. 4 infections are spreading across the globe, and you have to apply your efforts so that the disease remains contained. Season 1 runs over 12 months. Each month is represented by a game of Pandemic. The thing about Pandemic though, it is just not fair. Disease spreads like wildfire, and when it does, you feel the permanent outcome of this. It was just bad luck. Britain kept getting infected and everything was just out of control. We tried over and over again to cure it, but eventually riots formed. And it collapsed. We lost it. We had to block every route coming in and out of the isle. Sorry guys. A few months in, and news broke of a new strain of a virus. It didn't seem to respond to traditional medicines, and it had some strange properties. The skin of the infected host turned translucent and caused highly aggressive behavior. It was like an entire new species of human, and they were called the Faded. Communities of the Faded formed. Western Europe became entirely faded, and we could not reverse it. To tackle the spread of CODA, we received funding to form a team of paramilitaries to help stop the spread and chaos across the globe. Our team grew stronger and wider. New and talented members joined every month. They gave us new perks and new abilities during the games. We knew we were onto something huge. And then the paramilitary medics had a breakthrough. In a burst of hope, we were given access to a new antiviral medication, said to be the cure. The end of CODA and the Faded, the return of civilization. So we prepared distribution of the medication among the Faded cities. Our teams were coordinated, and what remained of the world leaders joined in our attempt to stop CODA. But nothing. It didn't work. It didn't make the slightest difference to the spread of the disease. Cities were going dark day by day. Riots were occurring. The public wanted answers. Where did the virus start? How did the virus start? Why the hell did the life-saving medications not work? More than anything, the public wanted hope. Before we move on to our WTF moment, like and subscribe and tell us in the comments about your own WTF moments in board games. But anyway, at this point in the game, we were 8 wins in and 3 losses. Enter September.
The darkest moment has begun. It had been a long year. We had lost some great teammates. Morale was really low, but we could finally start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We'd received word that one of our soldiers had become pathologically paranoid. We ought to do something about it. He was spreading these weird conspiracy stories of the virus, crying out that it was man that spread the virus. The population was already panicking. We needed to cool it down before the fire spread. An immunologist had made transmission tours across the globe, and he insisted that we come and meet him. We travelled across North America. It seems like a vaccine for CODA might have been possible, but we needed to find the gene sequence for CODA. The immunologist had heard the stories. If it was indeed engineered by man, then the data sequence is probably on disk somewhere. We needed to find the soldiers spreading the conspiracy theories. What if it was bioengineered? We searched and searched in the collapsed cities of the past with no success, until we found him.
I thought you were with them. Oh, you are with them, you just don't know it. Of course they'd send you for me. I was there when it started, man. They would have shut me up. I took a bunch of files before I left, though. I think it's time you all knew the truth.
My name is Sergeant Michael Davidson, and I am sorry for what I have done. The world needs to know that this current epidemic was not the result of nature, but a select group working within the CDC in Atlanta. By causing terror, this group would seize control of the cities, martial law, and the New World Order. In this dossier are emails from this group, which calls themselves Zodiac. We had this all wrong. Not only was this virus man-made and spread to destroy society, we were among the group behind all of this. We were helping the enemy. Goodness, we even were the enemy. The disease was manufactured and then distributed by the paramilitary. It was the ultimate global conspiracy come to life. And all of those bases we built for the military, what the Imagine you had to solve a puzzle to save the world, but you only had a little bit of time. Let me tell you about our crazy adventure in Time Stories, the Asylum Case, where everything we needed was right in front of us the whole time. Alright, let's dive into Time Stories. It's a game where you work as time travelers, working to fix strange problems before they mess up the world. Time is super important in this game, hence the name of the game, Time Stories. Yeah. Clever, isn't it? If you run out of time, you have to start the game over from the beginning. So you start off the game in your base in the future, and then we were sent into a different world. In this case, we were teleported to a spooky asylum in France in the 1920s. we each became a different character in the asylum, exploring the creepy grounds. Time Stories is like a huge escape room. You have to solve puzzles to move from room to room. It is easily one of the best puzzle games I've ever played. Maybe it's a little bit unfair to call it just a puzzle game because it has these light role-playing elements and this narrative experience which make it more than just a puzzle. But the heart of the game is puzzle solving. We began in the day room with nothing but basic plans for the estate, a few resources, and no real idea what was going on. There was spooky music playing in the background on a gramophone. We saw some strange people. There was a nurse who looked like she wanted to talk to us, a man playing chess, a creepy girl painting, and a guy with a mask waving at us. We each stared at each other and delegated who goes where. As it was a day room, we didn't think we'd need to stick together, so we decided to split up, try and save time, and went our different ways. Afterwards, we all gathered back together and discussed what we saw. Adam said, the nurse seemed fed up with me asking her about the daily plan, and I think she came on to me. Adam said, that guy's playing chess with himself, but there are no bishops in play. Also, he said the crazy ones are being taken away by something, a manticore, I think? Saad said, that girl gives you the creeps. I asked what she was painting, and she said some kind of crazy demonic lion and wings or something. I didn't want to spend too much time with her. Like, I said she was giving me the creeps, while I found a key and a newspaper clipping. At least somebody was doing something useful. We kept exploring and running out of time and starting over. Each time we got better at solving the rooms quicker. You see, knowledge is power in this game. The more we knew, the faster we could solve all of these puzzles. We made it out of the day room and we walked outside onto the grounds of the asylum. There was a man dressed in a tuxedo dancing away. As we walked past, he calls us over and whispers to us.
Hey, look, you guys! I'm with you! Come over here! Bring me a plunger, and I'll tell you a little secret. Something that might help you out.
Saad turned to me and he said,
He must have been sent here from the future with us. Let's find that plunger.
We foraged through the asylum with no signs of the plunger, though we did find a creepy looking pentacle behind the waterfall. So then we regrouped and then, time was up. We were back in the day room. Back on the grounds, Saad pointed towards the far end. There's a labyrinth across there, so we journeyed through the winding alleys of the labyrinth to eventually arrive at the end to find another pentacle. And time's up again. This time, we headed to the greenhouse. There was a body on the floor. Saad ran over to assist.
Wake up!
Saad.
Wake up! It's so damp in here. Why are you sleeping on the floor?
Saad.
Wake up!
Saad, he's dead, I think.
Wilson!
It just seemed like another dead end. Just another useless pentacle on the corpse. And before we knew it, time was up and we were back in the day room. There was one area we still hadn't explored, so this time we headed straight there. To the dorm room. There were 2 rows of beds and a wall of lockers on the far side. I approached the lockers and lo and behold, we found the plunger. We rushed back outside and handed the plunger to the dancing agent.
Perfect! Now follow me, but do exactly as I do.
He turned around and started moonwalking backwards, and we eventually arrived at a large circle drawn into the ground. The agent planted the plunger into the center of the circle and commanded us to moon dance around the circle.
A few moments later. One eternity later.
I think this is a dead end, Azum.
You think? We've been moon dancing for an hour now. I think he's just winding us up.
Now stop! The ceremony's complete. Finally, I can clear my toilet. It's been blocked ever since that last Christmas party. Let me give you some advice for the next one. As tempting as the ribs look, just say no.
He strolled away, and time was up again. After gathering our thoughts, we carried on exploring. Eventually, we found another part of the map that we hadn't explored. 4 hours had passed, and we figured we're probably coming towards the end now. We had one final puzzle. We had 3 options. Go back, go through a half-open gate, or unlock a locked gate. We sent Adam through the half-open gate because he was the most hurt. I suppose it wouldn't really matter if he got caught, right? Unfortunately, he came back. As it turned out, it was a dead end. So we only had one option. We had to decode the lock on the gate. We tried for like 10 minutes, but nothing worked. Again, we ran out of time and we had to start all over again in the day room. When we did get back to the day room, Saad was sure that we'd missed something. We explored every corner of the asylum for more clues, but nothing. Time kept running out and we kept re-entering the day room again and again. I'm so fed up of this. I feel like we've got a better chance of the scary girl figuring this out than we do. No, this is it, you genius. The answer to the puzzle's right here on the scary girl. How did you miss this? I thought you said you looked at this. A picture we found in the office had symbols that matched the 5 pentacles that we found throughout. It showed us the order of them. After we put the pentacles in order, it was the painting from the creepy girl. It showed us how to decode it. And from our deduction, we came up with the answer. Read item 19. And voila, the puzzle was solved. Or was it? No, it actually was solved, yeah, we got it. As we walked through the gate, we then saw the creepy girl yet again standing at the center of a pentagram. She was the key to this whole mystery. And Saad ignored her. What the f***, Saad?
I'm sorry.
Have you ever played a game where someone is so good at lying that they could bluff their way through anything? Now imagine that person is your mum and she knows every trick in the book. Well then welcome to Sheriff of Nottingham, where the stakes are high and the betrayals are even higher. Okay, let's just quickly talk about the rules for a second. It's a game of bluffing and set collection where you try to sneak things past the sheriff without getting caught. Each turn someone plays as the sheriff and the others play as the traders, trying to bring in goods into the market and maybe even sneak in some contraband too. Now in this particular game there was myself, my brothers Adam, Azam and Fez, and we also managed to drag our mum along for this one too. By the way, in our play group, I'm nicknamed the traitor, and for good reason too.
You disgust me.
A few rounds in, I did a quick tally and I realised me and Azam were neck on neck for the lead. So I came up with a sneaky plan. Azam was on his last turn as the sheriff, and when he inspected my bag, he gave me the whole what's in the bag spiel. After some back and forth, I said, okay, let's make a deal. You let this one slide, and whatever you want to take on the next turn, when I'm sheriff, I'll let you take whatever you want. He thought about it, and then he said, okay, deal. So he let my 3 items of contraband through, along with 2 apples. Very nice. Then, it was my turn to be sheriff. Azam handed me his bag. And without even thinking about it, I ripped the thing open, took out all the items, and confiscated everything. He was so shocked. He looked at me and said, but I thought we had a deal. So I passed him the rulebook and I showed him where it said nothing is binding, which basically just means deals don't count. I started laughing and my mum looked at me in pure disappointment. But that wasn't the moment.
Now, my mum's not one to play board games, but she does enjoy the kind of casual party-esque games. In fact, it was her who introduced us to board games when we were much younger, games like Ludo and Monopoly. Now here's the thing about my mum. She is so good at knowing when we're being honest and when we're absolutely full of it.
Full of it? That's British slang for lying. Thanks for watching, North America.
Next, Mum was sheriff and it came back to my turn. I put on my best poker face and said, oh, it's just some apples, Mum. She looked at me and I started sweating. After a few seconds, I broke down. I'm sorry, Mum. It's contraband. I didn't mean to lie. My brothers burst out laughing.
Son, I knew it the moment I looked at you.
Why does she sound like Forrest Gump's mum?
Because she's from Alabama.
we couldn't fool her at all. She didn't really get the point of the game though. In fact, she went through the whole game and she didn't tell a single lie. It came to the final turn of the game. Fez was sheriff and his last trader to interrogate was Mum. He was fairly convinced at this point that she had absolutely no idea what was going on, so he just passed her items back to her. But then she did something a bit unexpected. She unpacked her bags and revealed 5 pieces of contraband.
Mum! What the f***?
So yeah, Mum doesn't lie, but when she does it big.
You are the lead investigator of an elite intelligence agency and you are on the cusp of solving a conspiracy stemming from World War II. Suddenly your phone rings and everything flips upside down. Hello? We have an emergency. In Detective, you are a member of the ANIA. The original game had 5 chapters to solve, all with interlinking and overarching stories. Throughout, you'll be taking notes and using the Antares database. This is a fictional database that you log onto on your actual computer in real life. Where this game shone was its 4th wall breaking elements that really turned that immersion all the way up to 11. There were so many cool moments throughout the game, like referring to Wikipedia for actual historical moments, finding real life locations from Google Maps, and going in Street View to find clues in real life locations. Amazing. The most what the case though was case 3, Blockade. It seemed like any other day at the office. Fairs was telling dad jokes, I pretended to laugh.
You know, then I walked into the room and then it hit me. I didn't need to be naked for this.
You.
The alarm started ringing, the office had gone into lockdown. I checked the doors, there was no way out.
Hey Faz, there's a message on your screen.
What is it?
A video popped up and we watched as a man loaded a body into a van. All of a sudden a riddle came onto our screen, revealing itself one word at a time. I had no idea what was going on, but I couldn't let Fairs know.
Did you read that?
Yeah, but why don't you just recap it for me?
It just makes no sense.
Where is he looking?
A girl had been kidnapped and she was tied up in a van with a bomb. We had to find the girl and then find the culprit. We had nothing to go off of, except a poem written by the offender. We read the poem over and over again, scratching our heads. Then Fairs had an idea. He decided there was one key word that stood out in the poem: cow pasture. We'd already spent too much time on this poem and time was ticking. So we jumped onto Google and lo and behold, a river by the same name, Cow Pasture, where we were in Ohio. We were onto something, but at the same time, we realized we didn't know anything about the culprit. We didn't know who they were or why they did it. We moved around, interacting with different people. We got some clues, a bit of direction, but nothing more. We had a video of the back of the culprit's head, a picture of a van with a large security tape obscuring most of the shot, and no details in regards to the location. And bit by bit, we ventured on until finally we had 2 possible locations and a potential name for the girl: Rose. Time was nearly up. We would only be able to make it to one of the locations. We didn't have much information on the kidnapper, except a disc that contained images of the sort we shall not discuss. At least not in this video.
He was a sick man. We needed to make a decision, and we needed to do it quickly. One location was Mayo, and the other was Bell. I turned to Saad and I said, "Think, Saad, think." And then he said something like, Bell, is that like Italian for girl, isn't it? To which I responded, "That's it, you genius." Genius. He was not. We got to the van in the very last moments, and bang, a loud sound is heard from the other side of the city. It was Mayo. We chose wrong.
Still hurts today.
It was all your fault.